My husband seems to have had a breakup. After getting home, he sat on the couch in silence, staring at his phone with a gloomy expression. I know his girlfriend is dramatic. She probably dumped him again. It's so good, I can't help but smirk. Luckily, my boyfriend isn't like that. On the way to the prenatal checkup, Noah's phone rang. The girl on the other end playfully insisted he come over right now. Noah glanced at me, looking troubled. I have something to do. Can I come later? But I have a stomachache. You have to be here in half an hour. Noah frowned, turning to say something but seemed at a loss for words. I lowered my gaze and calmly said, "You go, I'm fine on my own." He paused, then hurriedly pulled over. "Just be careful alone. Call me if anything happens." The black Maybach sped off, and I ignored him, hailing a taxi. We both knew that "call me" was just polite talk. When Noah was with Sophie, it wouldn't matter how many times I blew up his phone. Fortunately, this wasn't my first prenatal checkup, so I knew the way to the hospital. While the doctor was looking at the ultrasound report, Sophie called. "Hello?" There was a splash of water on the line, and Sophie's voice was provocatively teasing. "Amelia, guess what Noah is doing right now?" I replied flatly, "He's probably showering, waiting to finish and hang out with you." "What, am I part of your play?" Sophie seemed taken aback by my calmness at finding out about Noah's affair. After a moment of silence, she hissed, "You're going for a checkup today, but I can just call him over." "Amelia, don't you think it's sad that you can't keep your husband's heart?" I laughed derisively. "Why would I want to keep his heart? Keeping his money is what matters. You may have his heart, but the money he spends on you is joint property. Sophie, I advise you to be careful. If I decide to see you one day, you'll have to give it all back." She was silent with rage before finally hanging up. The doctor, who had been eavesdropping, awkwardly smiled at me. "Pregnant women shouldn't get upset. Your mindset is pretty good." I waved my hand. "That little mistress is just waiting for me to get angry enough to die. I've got it all figured out." "Are you still having his baby?" I shrugged. "He has money." The doctor fell silent. I was joking, really. Having a child isn't just about money. When I got pregnant, I didn't even know about Sophie. I thought this baby could save my crumbling marriage with Noah. But then I realized, a broken mirror can't be put back together, and spilled water can't be gathered. Even if I had another child, Noah wouldn't change his mind. But that's fine, I've got my next partner lined up. The door knocked, and when I turned around to see a man covered in sweat, I smiled. He wore a wrinkled white t-shirt and jeans, clearly having rushed out, but his good looks made the messy outfit look oddly fashionable. His bright eyes sparkled as he panted, "I'm late." I patted his t-shirt. "You're wearing a 6,000 yuan shirt like it's 61, what a waste." Ethan took my hand. "I was in a hurry, I left as soon as you sent the message." He looked down and exclaimed, "Oh no, I wore my socks inside out." I couldn't help but smile. The doctor was momentarily stunned, glancing between us, and I felt a bit embarrassed. "Oh, this is my boyfriend." The doctor raised an eyebrow. Ethan quickly leaned in. "Doctor, is there any problem with her checkup?" The doctor cleared his throat, focusing. "You've had some anemia, you need to pay attention later." Ethan listened intently, taking notes on his phone, even asking the doctor to slow down when he didn't understand. By the end, the doctor looked a bit complex. "Your boyfriend really takes good care of you?" I nodded. "Yeah, he's much better than my deadbeat husband." On the way home, Ethan couldn't help but ask, "When can you divorce him?" Last time my parents wanted me to go on a blind date, I said I had a girlfriend, and they didn't believe me. They insisted I bring her home to see. I turned to look at him. Ethan's ears turned slightly red, and I noticed his long lashes and bright, pure eyes. For some reason, he reminded me of the neighbor's puppy waiting for me to throw a ball. I casually replied, "I'll see, I'll do it as soon as possible." Meeting Ethan was quite dramatic. I had randomly read a suspense novel on a plane and thought it was brilliantly written, so I sought out all the author's books and found their writing precise, with unexpected plot twists. Just then, the author, named The Footless Bird, was having a signing event in the city, so I went to check it out, expecting the author to be a middle-aged man due to the maturity of his writing. I didn't expect him to be a handsome young man in his early 20s, good-looking enough to make it big in the entertainment industry. That was Ethan. I casually asked. The killer in No Spring didn't really kill for his mother, right? To my surprise, Ethan suddenly looked up excitedly. You figured it out? He eagerly discussed the plot with me until his assistant cleared his throat, saying, Professor, there are still many people waiting behind you. Reluctantly, Ethan handed me the book. All right, thanks. He winked at me, a sly smile flickering in his bright eyes. I opened the book, and besides his signature, there was a string of numbers, his phone number. Things progressed naturally from there. We started by discussing the story, then discovered we had many interests in common. On the day he confessed his feelings, I hesitated for a moment but eventually told him about my situation. At that time, Noah and I had already fallen apart. He was with Sophie, and we were like strangers. But I was already pregnant with Ethan's child. Ethan was silent for a long time before saying he needed to think. 3 days later, just when I thought he was going to give up, he called. I don't want to be the other man. But in these 3 days, I realized I can't let you go. So Noah had Sophie, and I had Ethan. When I got home, I found Noah sitting on the couch, looking gloomy, like someone who had just been dumped. I quickly realized Sophie must have had another fight with him. It was probably another breakup, a tactic they'd used countless times before. Sophie was Noah's first love. They had been together since she was 17, for a full 5 years. Noah had even bought an engagement ring, but his mother forced them to break up, insisting I was the right match for him. Noah's mother had sponsored my education from the age of 10 to 18, covering not just tuition but living expenses. After I got into college, she continued to look after me. As an orphan, during holidays when I had nowhere to go, she would invite me to celebrate with her family. In my freshman year, I applied for a scholarship and started working, no longer needing her support, but we maintained our relationship. I would always bring her gifts during holidays. From a small supermarket I financed with loans to a third of the shops in the college town over 2 years, I made over $12 million. That's when Noah's mother noticed my business acumen. After Noah's father died in a car accident, his mother was often bedridden with illness, and Noah, lacking business sense, made her worry about the family's future. She felt Sophie, an art student, wouldn't be able to help Noah's family. So, she asked me to marry Noah to manage the family business. After a long silence, I agreed. She had supported me for 9 years, so I would help Noah for 9 years. If our feelings were good after that, we would stay together, if not, we'd divorce. That year, I was 20. Now, I'm 29. On the couch, Noah wore a black shirt rolled up to his elbows and pristine Italian leather shoes. I frowned. Why don't you change your shoes? Noah replied impatiently, what did you do to upset her today? I realized he was upset over my comments to Sophie earlier. I scoffed, Noah, have you lost your mind? She called me first. That little mistress is so arrogant, and you want to blame me? You know her temper. Noah's voice softened as he realized he was in the wrong. She's been spoiled since childhood, just let her have her way. I replied flatly, sorry, I'm an orphan, no one taught me to cater to a spoiled princess. If you want to be her dog, go ahead, I'm not interested. Noah looked unhappy. You don't have to say it so harshly. I felt like I'd explode if I said anything more, so I slammed the door and lay on the bed, sighing as I looked at my growing belly. Honestly, after finding out about Sophie, I didn't want to keep this child. Noah's mother had begged me not to terminate the pregnancy, even getting off her sickbed to kneel before me. Without her support, I might still be in the village, possibly a mother of several kids by now. She had changed my life, and I couldn't refuse her. This child was my final compromise and a way to repay her for all those years of support. I told her I would divorce Noah after the baby was born. In the living room, Noah was soothing Sophie over the phone, his tone gentle. I covered my face with a pillow, not wanting to listen. Sophie was dramatic. I'd heard her name long before she and Noah got together. She was spoiled as a child, often throwing tantrums and breaking up with Noah every few days, with him always the one to reconcile. This was also a reason Noah's mother disapproved of their relationship. The last time they broke up was after Sophie's 27th ultimatum. Noah seemed to finally be worn out, and with his mother's pressure, he didn't bow his head for the first time. The two of them went their separate ways like that. In fact, when I first got together with Noah, I had hoped we could live a good life together. He was very handsome, different from Ethan's pure, clean boyish charm. Noah had a rugged, dashing look, with a hint of mischief in his brow. From the outside, you wouldn't guess that he was a pure-hearted love warrior. In the first couple of years, Noah thought I was forced onto him by his mother, and he felt quite resentful towards me. But as time passed, 1,000 days and nights of companionship softened his attitude towards me. During our best moments, I genuinely believed he had forgotten Sophie. We would hold hands at dusk to go grocery shopping and cook together at night. He would book my favorite restaurant for Valentine's Day and give me gifts he picked out himself. When I woke from nightmares, he would hold me close and gently pat my back to comfort me, then fall asleep in my arms. There was a period that could be called happiness, and I thought we would continue like this forever. Until a year ago, when he suddenly changed his attitude and became increasingly impatient with me. At first, I thought it was just the 7-year itch, and after I got pregnant, I was somewhat hopeful, thinking the child could mend our relationship. But later, I realized it wasn't a 7-year itch at all. Sophie was back. That was when I understood that from the beginning, Noah had never let go of Sophie. Outside, Noah finally finished his call and came in. She's really angry this time. Can you at least apologize to her? For a moment, I wanted to grab the lamp on the bedside table and smash it over Noah's head to see what was going on in his mind. Remembering the doctor's warning about not getting angry during pregnancy, I took a deep breath, my teeth clenched in pain. Get lost. Noah frowned, his voice growing cold. Amelia, you've gone too far. Have I gone too far? I sat up abruptly. Noah, you come to me when there are problems at work, and when Sophie throws a tantrum, you come to me. It's pathetic how you're living like this. I scoffed. Why are you still alive? You might as well just die. Noah's eyes darkened, veins in his arms bulging. For a moment, I thought he was going to rush over and hit me. After a while, he coldly said, Amelia, don't regret it. With that, he slammed the door on his way out. This wasn't the first time. During the years Sophie was abroad, her dad went to prison for illegal fundraising, and the one family fell from grace. Now, the only lifeline she could cling to was Noah. But Noah was already married to me. She could only be an inconspicuous mistress. She tried to force me to step aside, so she provoked me every few days. I didn't let her have her way, making her furious each time. Since Noah couldn't soothe her, he could only come to me to apologize. He knew that because of his mother, I would hardly refuse any of his requests. But over the years, I had single-handedly revived Noah's family business from the brink of collapse to its current thriving state, with continuous expansion. Without me, the Noah family would have been finished long ago. I didn't know them anything anymore. The next day, when I arrived at the office, I suddenly felt that the atmosphere was off. People passing by were sneaking glances at me, hesitating to speak. When I reached my office door, I found my belongings thrown out, scattered all over the floor. One of my favorite cups was shattered into pieces. I coldly asked, "What's going on here?" An unexpected person emerged from my office. Sophie casually glanced at the mess on the floor and scoffed, "I'm helping you move. I figured it'd be inconvenient for you with your big belly, so I kindly helped you out." I was taken aback. "How are you here?" Sophie leaned against the doorframe, chuckling softly. "You didn't know? Noah is really something. How could he forget to tell you this kind of thing? Amelia, Noah has fired you. You are no longer the general manager of Xingchuan, you can leave now." Her airy voice struck my ears like a thunderclap. I instinctively asked, "Fired me? Who's the new general manager?" I thought of a ridiculous possibility, but it was so absurd I could hardly believe it. Sophie seemed to enjoy my expression at that moment. She walked over and turned the nameplate on my desk around. "I merely mentioned it casually, and he insisted on firing you. It really made me feel bad." A smirk played on her lips as she stood in front of me, whispering, "Amelia, do you really think you can keep him with your money? Let me tell you, you shouldn't think of holding on to anything." This was too outrageous. I turned to look at the others. Their expressions were also grim, but they remained silent. Just then, Noah walked over. I hurriedly rushed up to him. Noah, what does this mean? How can you just fire me? Noah replied indifferently, I'm doing this for your own good. You're pregnant, and it's inconvenient for you to do anything. Let Sophie help you out. It's a good chance for you to stay home and prepare for the baby. I couldn't believe it. Her? You want her to be the general manager? She's an art major. You're going to ruin Xinchuan. The government is still waiting for the development project in the southern suburbs. What will happen to the project if you quit? Noah crossed his arms and said disdainfully, Amelia, you think too highly of yourself. Do you think the company won't run without you? When you weren't here, Xinchuan was just fine, right? I suddenly understood. This was Noah's revenge for me not apologizing to Sophie yesterday. Or maybe they had colluded long ago, just waiting to pull me down. Noah, I said, trying to keep my cool, what you're doing will ruin Xinchuan. You can't be so irresponsible. Ruin Xinchuan? Noah looked me up and down. I think you just can't bear to lose power. Amelia, ever since you joined the company, everyone only knows you. Who even remembers I'm the chairman? I see you just want to monopolize Xinchuan. I stared at Noah, stunned. So that's how it was. He thought I had sidelined him. But was that what I wanted? Noah's mother brought me into Xinchuan to help protect him. Yet Noah had spent the years drinking, racing with his rich friends, enjoying life, completely neglecting the business. Even when I pleaded with him to learn about company management, he would impatiently reply, what's the point if I learn? My mom brought you into the company just to help me, right? I had no choice but to shoulder the burden of Xinchuan alone. Over the years, Xinchuan had declined, the cash flow was shaky, and major clients were leaving. I stood at clients' doors, begging for them to return. When a client's mother was ill, I stayed at the hospital for nearly a month, finally winning him over to restore the order. I lost 12 pounds during that month, my clothes felt loose when I left. I went out to drink, facing greasy, troublesome, and lecherous clients. No one was there to help me. Sometimes, I couldn't believe how I managed to hold everything together alone during those years. Without me, there would be no Xinchuan today. But now, after using me up, Noah kicked me out of the company. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh and took a step back. Noah, does Aunt Chloe know about this? His expression changed, and he angrily retorted, this is my family's business. I don't need to report to anyone. Sophie leaned against Noah, smirking, Amelia, who do you think you are? Her eyes flashed with disdain, you're just a hired worker, hurry up and pack your things and leave. I stared at the man in front of me, frozen in place. After a moment, I smiled. All right, Noah. You're impressive. I'm leaving. After leaving the company, I received many calls from high-level executives. They explained that Noah had gone to a meeting early and that their suggestions had all been rejected by him. I turned off my phone and wandered aimlessly down the street. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my abdomen. The pain quickly spread throughout my body, and I suddenly felt a warm rush. Looking down, I realized my skirt was soaked in blood. When I was sent into the operating room, the doctor told me the baby might not survive. I struggled to call Noah. Not because I still held any hope, but because this baby was a promise to his mother, and he had the right to know. Noah, I'm in the hospital, I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the pain. The doctor said the baby might not survive. I just wanted to let you know. But Noah just laughed coldly. Amelia, when did you start this crying and fussing routine? You think threatening me with a baby will make me take you back? I silently hung up the phone, slowly placing my hand on my abdomen. Actually, when I first learned Sophie was back, I had already given up on this baby. Sometimes, I even felt he was a shame. A constant reminder that my husband had always loved another woman. But as the days passed, I felt him growing stronger, that bond becoming more profound. I thought, if Noah didn't want this child, I would take him away. This was my child, the one who had accompanied me for so long. I closed my eyes, a tear rolling down my cheek. The first face I saw was Ethan's, dressed in a black hoodie, looking like a college student. He rushed over with concern, how are you? Does it hurt? Is there anything wrong? The nurse glanced at him, the patient is still under anesthesia, she'll start feeling pain tonight. I was startled, weakly asking, what are you doing here? He looked at me, eyes almost red. My aunt is a doctor here. She saw you the last time we came and just called me. Ethan carefully followed the doctor as they wheeled me into the ward. Actually, a miscarriage doesn't usually require much hospitalization, but he insisted on staying for a day to monitor me before going home. The next day, as we were leaving, Ethan insisted I come to his house. That guy, he frowned, he won't take care of you. You've just miscarried, you need someone to look after you. I thought for a moment and agreed. To be honest, I've rarely felt vulnerable in my life. I grew up facing a tougher survival mode than others, but I managed to pull through on my own. I don't know why, but when I'm alone, I can grit my teeth and keep moving forward. Yet, when someone actually cares, I become a bit delicate. I really don't want to go back to that house where I'm all alone anymore. I thought Ethan's idea of taking care of me was just talk. He comes from a well-off background, better than Noah's, but he's focused on writing instead of business. Ethan has actually found success as an author. All 3 of his novels have been adapted into films that grossed over $2 billion. How could someone like him possibly know how to care for others? I was surprised he was serious about it. He cooks every meal himself, and although the dishes are simple, 3 dishes and a soup, they're surprisingly delicious. Especially that pigeon mushroom soup. I finished 3 big bowls the first time I tried it. How do you cook so well? I wondered. Ethan leaned back, smiling at me, the warm kitchen light turning his dark hair into a soft golden hue. The dining table at his place isn't very big, and as we eat together, he casually reaches out to touch my hair. My mom always said, a man who can't cook won't find a wife. She trained me in the kitchen from a young age. That's nothing, I can make a lot more. He winked at me, you're lucky to have me. Just as I was about to laugh, I suddenly thought of Noah. He couldn't cook at all, or rather, he didn't do anything to serve others. He didn't like eating food made by others, so for all those years together, I was the one cooking at home. Sometimes, even when I was sick, I had to push myself to cook. I didn't think much of it back then. I owed a debt to Noah's family, and having grown up struggling to eat enough, I felt I was doing well enough. It wasn't until now that I realized how little I've been cared for in my life. I've always been running hard, ahead of everyone else, but no one has ever truly cared for me. Being kicked out of Xinchuan wasn't as painful as I expected. I worked there for 9 years, helping it rise from the ashes. It had become almost like a child to me. I was used to being busy for Xinchuan. But suddenly having free time these days, without traveling for work or endless calls and meetings, felt surprisingly good. Ethan enjoys curling up in his study during the day, where thick carpets cover the floor. When the sun is warm, I'd sit beside him on a lazy couch reading. We discuss plot points, sometimes even debating one for hours. Ethan would threaten me, you still want sweet and sour ribs for lunch? I'd grab his loungewear, pulling at it defiantly. If not, fine. But come lunchtime, he would still make them. In the afternoons, we'd take naps together, the curtains drawn tightly to block any light. He'd hold me from behind, and we'd sleep until 3. After writing for another 2 hours, we'd hold hands to go grocery shopping and then snuggle in bed to watch movies. This was the first time I'd lived like this. There were no arguments, no rush, just mutual companionship. Sometimes, I felt so happy it seemed unreal. That night, while lying in Ethan's arms watching a movie, I suddenly received a call from Noah's mom. I hesitated but answered. Mom. Her voice was laced with anger. I heard that little bastard fired you. I was taken aback. Noah's mom is usually so gentle. This was the first time I heard her curse. I just went to yell at him, but he's as stubborn as a mule, insisting on bringing that woman into the company. She took a breath to calm down. Amelia, don't be angry, I'll scold him again later. I know how much you've sacrificed for Noah's family all these years. He's being unreasonable, and I apologize on his behalf. It was clear she was genuinely furious. Noah's mom is a very rational person. She knows that without me, Noah is nothing. He can't keep Xinchuan. I glanced over at Ethan, who was listening intently. The anger and grievance from being kicked out of Xinchuan faded in that moment. I replied calmly, it's okay, Mom. I didn't mention it before, but when I got fired, I lost the baby. Now that the 9 years are up and I've lost the baby, I plan to divorce Noah. There was a long silence on the other end. This was something we had agreed on beforehand. She supported me for 9 years, and I helped Noah for 9 years. Now that Noah no longer needs me, even the last bond we had, that baby, is gone. It's time for me to leave. Both Noah's mom and I knew that I wouldn't be looking back. After a while, her voice choked slightly, and she forced a smile. Good girl, all these years have been a waste with the Noah family. I thought you two could make it, but it seems he just isn't lucky enough to be with you. Don't worry, you'll get everything that belongs to you. From now on? Her voice trembled, you just live your life well. I won't stop you this time. A few minutes later, I received a call from Noah. As soon as I answered, I heard him yelling, Amelia, why didn't you tell me the baby was gone? I replied coldly, Noah, if your brain is malfunctioning, go get it checked. Have you forgotten what you said? He paused. I thought, you thought I was threatening you? You thought I cared about that so-called general manager? I scoffed. Noah, keep your general manager. I'm just waiting to see when Xingchuan dies. I'm worried your dead father will haunt you in your dreams. Xingchuan is at its end with you. With that, I hung up. I used to be so different. Back then, I was gentle, compliant with Noah. We shouldn't have hurt each other. It was all his doing. Once I recovered, I went home. I'm sorry about that day. I didn't think you'd have a miscarriage. He looked up at me, his voice slightly low. I said nothing. In fact, I felt there was nothing left to say to Noah. I handed him the divorce agreement. I've divided all the assets. Let me know if you have any objections. Noah was taken aback and looked up sharply. Amelia, you want to divorce me? Yes, I glanced at my phone. Do you have any plans tomorrow? If not, it's best to go in the morning. The Civil Affairs Bureau opens at 9. Noah flipped through the agreement, looking increasingly unhappy. Is it for that pretty boy? I couldn't be bothered to argue, so I simply nodded. Yes, we fell in love at first sight, and I can't wait to marry him. Noah suddenly stood up. At 188 centimeters, broad-shouldered and long-legged, he looked imposing, especially when angry, his shirt stretched tight across his chest, making me instinctively step back. Amelia, have you forgotten you're already married? He glared, does that pretty boy know you have a husband? I laughed. Of course, don't you have a wife too? Sophie doesn't mind, does she? Noah was at a loss for words, his face darkening as he stepped closer. I've checked that pretty boy, what can a writer give you? He gestured around. Can he give you everything you have now? Don't you want a divorce? I asked, surprised. If I don't divorce you, what will happen to Sophie? Noah glanced at me, visibly annoyed. We're not at that point yet. Plus, my mom likes you, she wouldn't let us divorce. You don't need to worry about that, I replied calmly. I've already spoken to your mom. She agreed. For a moment, confusion flashed across Noah's face. She agreed? I nodded. He grabbed my shoulders tightly, enough to hurt. Amelia, where else can you go after leaving the Noah family? What else can you do? Are you really going to give up everything you've worked for just because you're angry? I slowly pushed his hands away and looked him straight in the eye. Weren't you the one who forced me to give it up? You forced me out of Xingchuan and caused me to lose the baby. Noah, didn't you take everything from me? What are you trying to play at now? Noah was speechless. After a moment, panic flickered on his face. I'm not. Amelia, didn't you like me? You've held on for so many years, why can you say you want to let go now? Do you really think I stayed with you because I liked you? I said softly. Noah, I had an agreement with your mom. She supported me for 9 years, and I helped you with Xingchuan for 9 years. Now, the time is up. I handed him the divorce agreement again. Noah, I don't owe your family anything anymore. Noah looked stunned for a moment, and after a long pause, his voice became hoarse and constricted. What did you say? I said the time is up, I repeated. Noah, let's get a divorce. That day ended in an argument. Noah refused to agree to the divorce. I packed my things and moved out of the villa to stay with Ethan. Even though I wasn't at Xingchuan anymore, old colleagues still reached out to me. The new general manager got in because of Noah, right? She doesn't know anything. I gave her the reports, and she couldn't understand them and kept pointing fingers. It's ridiculous. Yeah, she only shows up for a bit each day, and you can't even find her to sign something. The last proposal was clearly approved, but she insisted it had to be redone. There's no time left. I lowered my eyelashes. Sophie was an art major and knew nothing about company management. Noah wasn't any better. Xingchuan won't last much longer in their hands. Sure enough, just 2 months later, while I was preparing for the divorce proceedings, the former vice president of the company called me in a panic. Xingchuan is in trouble. Sophie insisted on buying a bad asset package against our objections. We refused, but she went straight to Noah, and he approved it. From his tone, I could hear his disdain and anger. She didn't even look at it carefully, and we later discovered that the land in that asset package was mortgaged. Now it can't be developed, and the funding chain has been cut off. It's all over. The vice president trembled as he spoke. All our years of hard work are gone. Once the funding chain is broken, everything is finished. Amelia, what should we do? I can't do anything, I replied with a bitter smile. I'm not a magician, I can only say it's fate. Xingchuan was in complete disarray. After the bad asset package incident, Noah and Sophie went to the bank for a loan. I had dealt with that bank president when I took over Xingchuan. He was a greasy man who liked to force people to drink. At that time, I had to down 2 Gina Baijiu just to secure that loan. But Sophie couldn't tolerate the humiliation. Under the president's relentless pressure, she got furious and splashed wine in his face. That created a huge mess. The president's face changed instantly, and he threw down a harsh warning: "You'll never get another penny from our bank for the rest of your life." What a joke. Afterward, Sophie cried to Noah, but he pushed her away. When he was with her, I managed everything. He just had to enjoy himself. Now that he had to handle it himself, he realized how overwhelming it all was. He accused Sophie, "Why couldn't you just endure a little? Control your temper." Sophie, shocked and angry, retorted, "He forced me to drink. My dad has never forced me to drink. Did you not see his leering eyes? Amelia can endure, so why can't you?" Noah instinctively fired back. That sentence ignited Sophie's fury completely. "Amelia, Amelia. I see you just holding your phone and only thinking about Amelia these days. If you can't let her go, why are you still with me? Go find her." Noah's expression darkened. "Can you stop being so unreasonable?" "I'm unreasonable?" Sophie's voice rose higher. "Is this my first day being like this? If you can't handle it, then just leave. Let's break up." Usually, when Sophie said this, Noah would start to comfort her. But this time, whether it was due to too many problems or his breaking point, Noah stared at her, the love in his eyes turning to impatience. "Fine," he said, "let's break up." Sophie didn't expect him to actually agree this time. For a moment, she stood there, stunned, not knowing how to react. A moment later, she screamed, "Let's break up. Who's afraid of you?" and then ran off with red-rimmed eyes. "The vice president sent me a video. What's the use of breaking up now? The company is already a mess because of her. Amelia, now that she's gone, can you come back and help us? Xingchuan is your hard work. Can you bear to watch it being ruined?" I paused for a moment before replying, "I'll lend you money. But I won't go back." Noah probably thought he could save Xingchuan on his own, but after 2 months, things only got worse, and it became clear it was beyond saving. However, at that moment, I was at Ethan's place playing games and didn't care about all this. It was Noah who called me. On the phone, his voice sounded exhausted. "Amelia, can we meet? What's the matter?" I took a sip of coffee. Noah clenched his hands on the table. "Xingchuan is not doing well." I could see that. Noah looked bad, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, and he clearly hadn't rested in a long time. I raised an eyebrow. "So what? What does that have to do with me, someone who's been fired?" This time, Noah didn't retort. He lowered his head and quietly said, "I used to think running a company wasn't that hard. I saw you handle everything with ease, even arguing with my mom about why I couldn't manage the family business and why they brought in an outsider like you. Recently, I've been running around trying to raise funds and find connections, but no one is interested. They make it hard for me, some won't even meet with me. I heard from old Zhang that you had it tougher than I do now, Amelia. How did you manage back then?" I frowned. "What are you trying to say?" Noah let out a deep breath, supported his forehead with his hands, and closed his eyes. Come back, Amelia. Both I and Xingchuan need you. I laughed. What about Sophie? You and Xingchuan don't need her anymore. I used to think I loved her so much. We were about to get married, but my mom strongly opposed it and broke us apart. Noah's gaze seemed distant. So when she came back, I couldn't help myself. I thought I still loved her. We've been together these days, and with the company and her, I thought I would be very happy. He frowned slightly. But we argue almost every day, over the company, over you, over all sorts of trivial matters. You know what? When she said she wanted to break up, my first reaction was relief. I was finally free. He rubbed his face. I've thought about it these days, and it's not that I can't let her go. It was just that my feelings at that time were opposed by everyone, creating a sense of fighting against the whole world. I was just being stubborn. He said softly, I've been thinking about you these days. We used to be really good together, didn't we? Amelia, I've realized now. Will you come back? We can continue like before. I won't contact Sophie anymore. Can we live well together? I couldn't help but feel amused by Noah's audacity. What right do you have to say that after cheating? I managed the company and the household. You just realize that your life is a mess without me. You need me back to clean it up. Do you think I'm worthless? If it weren't for my agreement with your mother, I would have divorced you long ago. Noah's voice was hoarse. No, I really do like you. I just realized it too late. You don't want to manage the company? That's fine, I can handle the home affairs. Amelia, he reached out to hold my hand. Come back, please. I really miss you, and Mom misses you too. Just then, a hand suddenly grabbed his wrist. I looked up sharply to see Ethan in a black turtleneck, his expression serious. Mr. Let's talk about business. Why are you getting physical? Noah's eyes flashed with irritation. What are you doing here? Ethan smiled. I'm here to take my girlfriend home for dinner. He held my shoulder. Sweetheart, the beef stew is ready. If we don't go back soon, it'll get cold. I shot him a glare. He was being possessive, knowing Noah wanted to talk to me. I stood up, grabbing my coat. Sorry, I have to go home for dinner. I'm not interested in your company or you. If you don't sign the divorce agreement by next Monday, I'll file for divorce. Goodbye. Noah stared blankly at me, seemingly wanting to say something. I left the cafe, not giving him the chance. Just speaking to him made me feel nauseous. The fact that I could sit here calmly was already out of respect for his mother. Thinking about how I once liked such a person made me feel sick. I truly had been blind. 2 months later, Xingchuan could no longer hold on and was acquired by another large local company. To my surprise, after Sophie and Noah fell out, she leaked Xingchuan's trade secrets to the rival company, which led to the failure of the last-ditch effort to save Xingchuan. Noah and Sophie's relationship officially soured, and I heard their breakup was quite messy. Noah sued Sophie for leaking trade secrets, and she was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Noah, who knew nothing about business operations, still couldn't let go of Xingchuan. He sold off the family assets in a desperate attempt to inject funds into the company, but in the end, it was all for nothing. Xingchuan was gone, and so was his family legacy. Even the villa where Noah's mother lived was mortgaged. When the creditors came to collect, Noah's mother, unaware of the truth, suffered a shock upon learning it and fell into a coma, ultimately never recovering. In less than a year, Noah had completely ruined his family. The last person in the world who loved him wholeheartedly was gone. After hearing about this, I visited Noah's mother's grave. I placed a bouquet of white chrysanthemums at her tombstone. This kind and gentle woman had saved my life. I had done my best to repay her, hoping she could enjoy her later years. Yet I still failed. Perhaps Noah and I should never have been together from the start. Our relationship was a doomed affair from the very beginning. As I turned to leave, a low voice came from behind me. You came. I turned around to see Noah holding a bouquet of flowers. He looked much thinner, his collarbones jutting out. Wearing a black trench coat, he had an air of desolation about him. I nodded, unsure of what to say. Did I hate Noah? Perhaps I did once. I had thought that offering my heart would earn me another in return. Later, I realized that what I received was a sharp knife that left me bleeding. But now, I had slowly let go. Noah had paid the price. Am I useless? He said with a bitter smile. I thought if I got rid of you, I could completely control Xingchuan. I wanted to show you and my mom that I wasn't the useless person who needed your protection. But now I realize that I really am useless. My dad built Xingchuan with his whole life's effort, and I destroyed it in just a year. I also drove my mom to her death. His voice began to tremble. Amelia, now you're leaving me too. I really have nothing left. The autumn wind blew cold. I tucked my hair behind my ear and didn't speak. What was there left to say? At this point, we had nothing left to discuss. As I turned to leave, Noah called out to me. His eyes were red-rimmed, and for the first time in my life, I saw him cry. Can you stay? If I say I know I was wrong, can you give me another chance? I paused for 2 seconds, then shook my head with a smile. No, thanks. And I walked away. A year later, I started my own company. The business was the same as before at Xingchuan, with the same core team. When my old colleagues heard I had started my own venture, they all resigned to join me. Everyone had rich experience, and the company gradually got on the right track.